Hey guys, today I'm going to teach you about the image to the beast, summoning Satan to fill its cup to overflow the manifest presence of Antichrist. Jeffery Lee Owen, welcome to this edition of Satan's Strategic Command, dedicated to the advancement of Christian theology, explicating the mark of the beast. May God bless the reading of his holy word. Okay guys, we've been discussing Revelation chapter 17, verse 1 through 6, and I'm going to read this passage for you right now. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great harlot that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stone and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. So guys, as we've been discussing, the image to the beast is the high priest of Satan, commissioned and anointed to speak the words of the beast. Revelation chapter 17, verse 17. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God should be fulfilled. So the image of the beast is the high priest of Satan, commissioned and anointed to speak the words of the beast. Revelation chapter 17, as one mind, one voice, and one singular vision with Antichrist. Revelation chapter 13, verses 13 and 14. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. This is the anointing of the image to the beast with the spirit of Antichrist, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying that to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And as we've been discussing in details in numerous previous lessons, how this is the summons of the beast, summoning his image. It's the commission of the beast to deceive the entire world, and it's the anointing, it's the satanic power is given through the anointing for the image to the beast to perform miracles to deceive the entire world. So, the image of the beast is the high priest of Satan, commissioned and anointed to speak the words of the beast. Revelation chapter 17, verse 17. As one mind, one voice, and one singular vision with Antichrist. Revelation chapter 13, verses 13 and 14. The ambassador bearing the spiritual seal of the worship of death. Revelation chapter 13, verses 15 through 17. Here, and he had power to give life unto the image to the beast, that the image to the beast should both speak, and cause that as many would not worship the image to the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So in verse 15 in Revelation 13, we have the corporeal appearing after it's summoned and commissioned and anointed by the beast to appear. We have the corporeal appearing of the image to the beast, and then we have the image to the beast soliciting and forcing the creature into an illicit relationship with itself on pain of death, pouring out the spirit of Antichrist, soliciting the worship of death, and causing the entire world to receive the mark of the beast. So, the image of the beast is the ambassador bearing the spiritual seal of the worship of death. Revelation chapter 13, verses 15 through 17. These are labors making manifest the presence and to secure the appearing of their king. Revelation chapter 13, verses 18. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So we have in verse 13 and 14 of Revelation 13, we have the beast summoning commissioning and anointing the image of the beast. In verse 15, we have the appearing of the corporeal form of the image of the beast, which is the body of death that labors in satanic power to force the entire world to worship it, as death resides within its own soul. And that, of course, is also manifested through what I personally believe is a religious tax that appears in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 and 17. And by this causes all flesh that will render service to it to receive the mark of the beast. And so the image to the beast is one mind, one singular voice, and one mind, one voice, and one singular vision with the beast. Revelation chapter 17, verse 17. The image to the beast is the high priest of Satan. Romans chapter 3:13. Their throat is an open sepulchre. With their tongues they have used deceit, and the poison of asps is under their lips. This one verse gives us the complete spiritual transfer of the anointing of the Spirit of Antichrist from the image to the beast to the creature, as the creature is solicited into captivity to the image to the beast. And in Romans chapter 3, verses 13. So the image of the beast is the high priest of Satan. Romans chapter 3, verse 13. The mediator between flesh and the presence of death. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 3. For every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices, wherefore it is of necessity that this man have somewhat also to offer. So here we have the appearing, we have the appearing of the image to the beast as the high priest of Satan, soliciting captivity in satanic power upon the creature and the populations of our world as the mediator between flesh and the presence of death. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 3. Remember Psalm 36, I believe it's verse 8 and 9, says, excuse me, guys. Psalm 36, 8, 9. They shall be abundantly satisfied with the fatness of thy house, and thou shalt make them to drink of the river of thy pleasures. This is God himself describing the flow of the glory of God from the throne of God and through the creature as manifested in the fruits of life and the spirit of grace, as we all are plainly aware of and that I've been preaching on for a while, which is manifest in Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 and 23. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such is no law. And Isaiah 61, 1 through 3, where the saints of God appear as trees of righteousness, bearing forth this fruit in their souls, which is the manifest presence of God in their lives. So they shall be abundantly satisfied with the fatness of thy house, and thou shalt make them to drink of the river of thy pleasures. For with thee is the fountain of light. In thy light we shall see light. So we know the only way for us to discern what is in the darkness is if we are abiding in the light. John chapter 1, verse 5 says, in him was life, and that life was the light of men, and the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness comprehends it not. English Standard Version says, the darkness has never overpowered it. And we know that once men are in darkness and God leaves them there, they cannot get out. So that's why I give you these references in reference to the high priest of God, which is Jesus Christ, because this explicates the pathway of righteousness and holiness, while Antichrist attempts to make that into fraud and lead people down a pathway of death. And by understanding and standing within the light, you can understand, only by standing in the light can you understand what is in the darkness. Romans chapter 7, verse 12 through 14. Wherefore the law is holy, the commandment holy, just, and good. Was then that which is good made death unto me? God forbid sin, that it might appear sin, working death in me. It appears sin, by that which is good. Okay, so only the saints of God will discern who is righteous and who is wicked at that day when the wicked receive the mark of the beast and are resigned to eternal condemnation and darkness. I believe that's Malachi chapter 3. And that is Malachi chapter 3, verses 17 and 18. So, the image of the beast is the high priest of Satan. Romans chapter 3, verse 13. It's transferring the spirit of Antichrist from itself to the creature. It's the mediator between flesh and the presence of death. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 3. For every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices, whereof it is of a necessity that this man have also somewhat to offer. And so as the image of the beast is the high priest of Satan, the mediator between flesh and the presence of death. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 3, offering itself as a daily sacrifice. Hebrews chapter 13, verses 12 and 15 and 16. Wherefore Jesus also, that he might sanctify the people with his own blood, suffered without the gate. And that's a very complicated lesson that I'll get to you later. I know what that means, but I'm not going to get into that. Wherefore Jesus also, that he might sanctify the people with his own blood, suffered without the gate. By him let us therefore offer the sacrifice of praise to God continually, that is the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name, but to do good and to communicate, forget not, for with such sacrifices God is well pleased. Remember, the words I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. John 6:63 and Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Romans chapter 7, verse 5. Which I'm having trouble recalling right here on the spot. Romans chapter 7, 5. For when we were in the flesh, the motions of sins which were by the law did work in our members to bring forth fruit unto death. And we've been discussing this fruit of death that resides within the soul of man is chosen by man to reside within him, as the image of the beast is now offering itself as a daily sacrifice, and it's choosing to allow the abode of death to abide within its blood, as manifested in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. So, the image of the beast is the high priest of Satan, Romans 3:13, the mediator between flesh and the presence of death, Hebrews chapter 8, verse 3, offering itself as a daily sacrifice, Hebrews chapter 13, verse 12 and 15 and 16, summoning Satan to fill its blood with the spirit of Antichrist, Revelation chapter 17, verses 1 through 6. Repeating living animated petitions, summoning death into its presence, polluting its environment with the demons of hell, Matthew chapter 12, verses 43 through 45, regenerating its blood with its illicit desires for sexual and monetary control over all flesh. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 1 through 5. Wherefore lay aside all malice and all guile and all hypocrisies and envies and all evil speakings. As newborn babes desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. If so be ye have tasted that the Lord is gracious, to whom coming as unto a living stone, disallowed indeed of men, but chosen of God and precious. Ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Jesus Christ. So, as the image to the beast solicits and summons daily, repeating orations, summoning death and the demons of hell into its presence, it's regenerating its blood. This is what it's doing spiritually. It's regenerating its blood with its illicit desires for sexual and monetary control over all flesh. Revelation chapter 17, verse 1 through 6 gives us this motive as the names of blasphemy, the image of the beast, labors for sexual and monetary control on pain of death over all flesh. Revelation chapter 13, verse 15 through 17. The shield of faith is the shield of truth. The shield of faith and the spiritual armor for the saints of God is also the shield of truth. Ephesians 6. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. So the shield of faith in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10 through 18 is also that's the shield of faith that we quench all the evil arrows of spiritual demonic possession that penetrate our minds and our souls, is also the shield of truth. Psalm chapter 91, verse 1 through 3. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say unto the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler, and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under His wings shalt thou trust. Hold on, I'm on the spot here. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Psalm 91. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say unto the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. These are evil spirits. The birds, the fowler is Satan, and the birds are demonic forces and evil arrows of satanic words that penetrate, and the spirit of satanic, the manifestation of Satan's presence penetrating our souls, attempting to harvest a harvest of iniquity and illicit desires within our lives. So verse 4 says, He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under His wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. So the shield of truth and the spiritual armor that appears in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10 through 18 is also the shield of truth. So it's the same thing. The shield of faith is the shield of truth, and we know faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, it's cognizance of God's goodness and presence in your life. Why anyone would want to summon Satan into their presence by the manifest power of God, which is what you're doing, Galatians 6, 7, and 8. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. These are your words. Your words are what you're sowing, and to prepare your reaping. So, for he that soweth to the flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. So, why anybody would want to sow, constantly sow death into their environment is beyond me. I can understand it when people are being tormented and afflicted, get the steam out, and then get right back on track with Jesus Christ and abiding in the love of the truth, because your very souls depend on it now today, because the image of the beast is here. He's here, and he's pouring out the spirit of Antichrist and the worship of death upon all flesh. So the shield of faith is the shield of truth. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10 through 18. Psalm chapter 91, verse 1 through 3. Reality is the choices that man applies in life, and truth is the eternal consequences of those choices. John chapter 17, verse 3. And this is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom thou hast sent. John chapter 14, verse 21, 23, and 15 through 17. He that hath my commandments and keepeth them, he it is that loveth me, and he that loveth me shall be loved of my Father, and I will love him, and will manifest myself to him. If a man love me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come unto him, and make our abode with him. If ye love me, keep my commandments, and I will pray the Father, and he shall give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever, even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it seeth him not. For he dwelleth with you and shall be in you. So here it makes it right. This is a manifestation in John chapter 14, verses 17. Jesus is stating here that the world cannot receive the Spirit of truth because they can't see him. Because the world, as it is abiding in horizontal captivity, and it set its affections and lust on that which is temporal, forsaking that which is eternal. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 16 through 18. If it's not in the material world, the world cannot perceive it. The world can only perceive without the manifest presence of the love of God and the truth residing in their hearts. The world cannot receive the Spirit of truth because it cannot see it. Okay? This is Jesus Christ himself. This is another example of Jesus Christ himself explicating horizontal condemnation and what we know to be the mark of the beast and Babylonian captivity. Revelation chapter 17, verse 5. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. It's another reference to vertical condemnation as God withdraws and evacuates the Spirit of grace within all those who have the mark of the beast and are residing in eternal condemnation. Their souls are dead. They're residing in suspended animation. They're still naturally alive as men, but they're spiritually dead. And the world cannot receive the Spirit of truth because it cannot see it. And this is the manifestation that God has vertically detached and condemned every single person that is within the manifestation of the image of the beast and the church of Satan and those that serve it in any capacity whatsoever. Here's another reference right here to the total evacuation of the Spirit of grace within all flesh that cannot retain love for God and their neighbors within themselves. Matthew chapter 24, verse 10 and 12. So, the shield of faith is the shield of truth. Reality, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10 through 18, Psalm chapter 91, verse 1 through 3. Reality is the choices that man applies in life, and truth is the eternal consequences of those choices. John chapter 17, verse 3, John chapter 14, verse 21, verse 23, and 15 through 17. All those who do not abide in truth abide with Satan in death. John chapter 8, verse 44. You are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth. When he speaketh of a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. Jesus Christ has manifestly declared every single human being that does not abide in and speak the truth is abiding in death. And they're abiding in death because they hate God. Proverbs chapter 8, verse 35 and 36. For whoso findeth me findeth life, and shall obtain favor of the Lord. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All that hate me love death. Whoso sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. So, we've been discussing, as we discussed yesterday, the image of the beast is regenerating its very atmosphere, its very environment with the toxic atmosphere of hell and death, summoning the presence of Antichrist, the presence of Antichrist into its blood, Satan and the demons of hell into its presence to obtain satanic power as it is manifested in Revelation chapter 17, verse 1 through 6, so it can fulfill its illicit sexual and monetary desires and force everyone to serve it on pain of death in its temporal capacity as natural men that do not abide in truth, and that in fact and in truth hate God, and thus they solicit the worship of death upon the children of God and the children of man, and the mark of the beast upon the populations of the world. Jeffery Lee Owen, if you're edified by this program, please hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, receive notifications of future installments. And remember, you can come to the throne room of God today and receive your healing directly if you're abiding in mercy and grace as manifested by Matthew chapter 13, verse 10 through 15. Thank you.